been a crazy last month and change for the Mavericks. Just wanted to get kind of your thoughts on just the chaos. What have you made of the new hirings, Rick leaving, Donnie leaving?
I mean, it's shocking just because the Mavericks have been this bastion of stability for really ever since Mark bought the franchise, and this will be the fourth coach. Nelly, Avery, Rick, and now Jason. Donnie's been the only really executive in charge. I mean, Nelly was in name, but really Donnie ran everything. So now you have Nico and Mike doing stuff, and it's really different. And not that change is necessarily good or bad, but it just is. And I think all of us are going to have a just sort of take it slow and sort of get the feel for what the organization looks like in this new era.
Were you? Because I mean, in the final press conference with Rick, he was asked the question about what's his future like. He said to text Mark. Were you surprised at just the swing of things that seemed to kind of happen that quickly, or do you think it was kind of a gradual build?
I was surprised because I certainly never expected Donnie to leave, but I do think once Donnie was out of the picture that Rick probably had to do some reevaluating and did some reevaluating and looked at the lay of the land and said, maybe going someplace else and doing something else would be better for him. And he obviously wound up in a really good situation in Indiana. I mean, I think that team absolutely has the ability to be a top 4 team, with health in the Eastern Conference. I will say that he's such a bright guy and he's such a good coach that Jason has a lot to live up to because I think there's a certain expectation that we've all had here for the last 13 years. And Jason has to be able to, he has to be himself. He can't be Rick Carlisle. He's got to be himself, but he's got to be able to match that intelligence and preparation and all those things that were the hallmarks of Rick's teams.
Do you think Jason is going to be the perfect marriage with Luka?
I don't know. I mean, there's every reason to believe that it can work that way. Hall of Famer to future Hall of Famer. Not the least of which was, Jason wasn't a very good free throw shooter when he first came to the NBA, wound up being a very good free throw shooter. And, I think that's one area that Luka really needs to improve on going forward, especially if he's going to be fouled that much and take that many free throws. Shooting 73% isn't good enough. I mean, he really needs to be an 80% free throw shooter. And just, how they see the game, and I think it absolutely can work. But until we actually see it play out, I mean, I can't sit here and say, by God, yes, indeed, this will work.
Right on. And Nico Harrison, a chess move from Mark Cuban in kind of the recruiting process. Is that how you kind of see that?
His reputation is that he knows everybody. Well, it's again great that he knows everybody. Does that then translate to coming here to play for the Mavericks? What does that mean? I mean, he can know everyone in the world and everyone can love him, and apparently everybody does. But if the fit isn't right from a salary standpoint or or trade standpoint or what, then he might not be able to do those things. I mean, I can absolutely see why the Mavericks were so enamored of him to bring him in, but will he be able to actually execute things that general managers do as opposed to just simply having the relationship? I mean, you would think that having been around the business end of basketball for as long as he's been, granted not on the team level, but just from the shoe business side, that he would be ready to be able to do something like that. But again, that's the thing we don't know, especially when you're dealing with people who are not lifers. If you were dealing, if for instance, just to throw out a name, if Bob Myers was to be the general manager of the Mavericks, coming from Golden State, with what he'd accomplished at Golden State, you would probably feel a bit more secure and a bit more assured that he really knows the lay of the NBA land and how deals get done and things like that. It may very well be that Nico does know all of this, but we've never seen him do it. So that's kind of where we are right now.
And were you surprised at all with Jamal Mosley's been hired by the Orlando Magic? Were you surprised at all that he didn't get that look with the Mavericks, given the relationship with Luka, given the tenure? Were you surprised with just how all that went down?
A little bit, but at the same time, I do know that Jason had inquired about coming back to the Mavericks in each of the last 2 years as an assistant on Rick's staff. So it's clear that he wanted to be in Dallas. And obviously, Jason had the relationship with Mark, and for whatever issues there were at the end of 2012 when it ended badly, clearly those have been taken care of. So, when things started happening and you heard Jason's name, in the mix, and you're thinking, well, okay, that I can see that. But, I think Jamal would have been great here. I think Jamal is going to be a great coach. We're, obviously now in Orlando with the opportunity to do it. I mean, he's absolutely prepared for the moment. Maybe once Rick left, there was a feeling that, let's just do it clean. Let's bring. Yeah, and sure, Jason has history with the team, but Jason didn't have a history with Rick Carlisle, the coach. Had him as a player, clearly. But maybe it's just let's wipe the slate clean. This is a new itineration of the Mavericks, and let's go from there.
And Coop, you've had a front row seat to Luka's first 3 years. Obviously. Big news today. He's the cover athlete of NBA 2K, along with Dirk on the Legends copy. What has it been like seeing him just transcend from a rookie to MVP levels and superstardom and Jordan deals and 2K covers and are you surprised at all that the ascension happened so soon, or did you think
absolutely?
This would happen?
I mean, that's the thing. I think that's what should surprise everyone. No one should be surprised that he was a really good player from the get-go, even if he was even better than we probably thought he was going to be from the get-go, and now has taken this, to superstar level. Again, I think just about everybody believed that he could achieve that. I don't think anybody realistically would have thought that he would have achieved that in 3 years. To where he's a one-word moniker, and that's when you've made it in the NBA. You don't have to say Doncic, even though when I do games, it's not just Luka. It's I do mix Doncic in there. Probably say Doncic more than Luka. Try to save Luka for the big moments. but you've made it when you've gotten to that point. So the fact that he's done it in 3 years. That's pretty amazing, and he is special. Let's make no mistake about it. Watching him is an absolute joy, and I will say, you said, well, you've had a front row seat for all of this. The craziest experience really was watching the game with Slovenia and Lithuania, and because I've never seen Luka Doncic in anything other than my own two eyes in front of me. So watching him on TV was like watching you guys, how everybody else watches Luka Doncic, and that's how I had to watch. And it was astonishing to watch just, how big he is, how powerful he is, how smart he is, how in the moment he is, and watching it that way. But, just knowing that every night that I watch him play, there's a pretty good chance he's going to do something that I've never seen before, and I'm going to have to try to figure out how to describe it in real time, which is not easy to do. He's made me sound pretty stupid sometimes, I think, but it's but it's always a challenge, and it's obviously a joy. Let's face it. I had Dirk, for the last 2/3 of his career, and you're lucky if you get one of those guys in your life. And here I got these two guys back to back like that. It's just pretty crazy.
Do you think, with USA kind of maybe struggling a little bit with the exhibitions, do you think Luka maybe has a dark horse chance with Slovenia to maybe could compete for that gold medal or silver?
I'd be surprised. I still, there's only one other NBA player on his team, and that's Vlatko Cancar, who doesn't play much for Denver. It would be the Danny Manning and the Miracles with Kansas times a zillion if they were able to do that, if he was able to pull that out. I do think they're going to be a big pain in the butt, though, for whoever they have to play, just because they do have a team concept and just a you can tell, even if Luka's dominating the ball, which he should be on that team, they just have a belief in themselves that they're going to be able to get things done, and believe that Luka will be able to get it done. I don't see that because over you're going to have to play basically 8 games to win and to win a gold medal, and obviously win the last 3 in the knockout stage to get a gold medal. But if were he able to medal, were he able to get Slovenia to medal, it would be among it. I do think it would be the most astonishing Olympic basketball result we've seen since '92 when the Dream Team came in.
And with the things we just talked about, and with LeBron, getting older, is it too soon to think about Luka as the face of the entire league?
Well, you already have a guy in Milwaukee that's won the most valuable player twice. He could be the most valuable player of the finals here before we're all said and done. Will Luka be the face? Could be, and I don't think it's unreasonable to wonder if that could happen. But Giannis is going to be here for a while, as far as I know, and if he has won a championship, that's going to carry a significant amount of weight. But I think it speaks to a larger issue of how international the league is. The league's about a quarter international, and we see it here in these Olympic qualifying games. We saw it in the World Cup in China a couple of years ago. It's not a walkover for Americans anymore. It's not, and Americans by birthright are not necessarily entitled to be the face of the NBA. The face of the NBA is whoever the next great player is going to be. Well, right now, the next great player is seen to be from Slovenia, from Greece, and from Serbia, who the Serbian just won the most valuable player in the league this year. So that's kind of where we are.
That's a good point. I did want to ask you as well about Dirk. Obviously, he's been hired by the Mavericks. What do you think his role was in all this? Have you been able to put a finger on it?
I just think he's a voice that Mark Cuban respects. And, if the information is presented to Dirk, and Dirk can distill the information however he's going to do it, and tell Mark, hey, Mark, I think this is how you should do it, Mark will listen to him. And I don't see how that can be a bad thing.
And I did want to ask you about KP as well. Do you think Dirk could be a help with KP potentially there? And also, what did you think about KP's season as a whole?
I don't know where Dirk could do much with KP. I don't think Dirk's looking to be, an on-the-floor mentor or anything like that. That's at least not the way I've understood his role to be. As far as KP's season goes, it was the ultimate Dow Jones type of season, right? Just looking at the bar graph, there were some great moments. His shooting was never more consistent than it was this year, and let's face it, it's hard to average 20 a game in the NBA, even with the rules being relaxed as they are to help out the offense. Still hard to average 20 a game. You still got to have something in order to be able to do that. He shot the ball better than he ever shot it. He and Luka clearly on the offensive end for whatever issues may have existed, they were elite. They were absolutely elite together, and the Mavericks' other units, when those two were on the floor, were elite. The issue is defense. The issue, for whatever reason, he struggled in coverage for a lot of the year, although at the beginning of April, he was in the top 10 of the league in block shots. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. And then, he hurt the knee toward the end of the year again, and then kind of fell back. And in the playoffs, I don't know what happened in the playoffs. I don't know why they felt the need to play him in the manner that they played him in. Because if you go back to the playoffs the year before against the Clippers couldn't stop him. I mean, he stopped himself. Got kicked out of one game, and he wound up getting hurt and didn't play. I mean, we had 23 and 12 games, 34 and 13 games. I mean, they couldn't stop him. Well, what changed? I don't know what changed. Something changed. And they elected to do it as they did. I'm a Porzingis fan. I'll admit it. I mean, I still think, I don't need him posting up all the time, and as much as say he wants to post up, I still think he has great value. And again, we're going to work on the assumption that he's healthy, and he's going into the offseason healthy for the first time in his in a long time. Since the year before he tore up his knee. So I think if you have a healthy Porzingis, playing as efficiently offensively as he played, and has recovered enough physically so that he can be the rim protector defensively that he was in the 1920 season. I'm a fan, and I'd be on board with him doing that. And obviously, everybody's going through their evaluation process right now, and we'll see what happens there. But there's clearly he's the question that needs resolving. But I don't think that that issue necessarily will be resolved in the time frame that a lot of fans or media would like that time frame to take place.
Right on. And do you think, there's been a lot of reports, KP and Luka's relationship, things of that nature. Do you think that's kind of been misconstrued or blown out of proportion from your assessment?
I don't know. I wish I could give you an honest answer. I wasn't around the team last year. And when you're not around them and you don't see it, and say, you're away from the team, and you ask somebody else, well, hey, how are Luka and KP getting along? They may have their own agenda when it comes to stuff like that. So I really hesitate to answer that question, and only to the extent that, well, yeah, they may not be best buds, off the floor. They just need to play great on the floor. They just need to respect each other's abilities and try to get the best out of each other, because if they can do that, then the Mavericks wind up being a lot better team than they've been, and they were actually a pretty good team last year, certainly toward the end of the season.
And do you think this offseason, would it be a failure if the Mavs aren't able to retain that possible third kind of star player? A DeMar DeRozan, a Kyle Lowry, a Mike Conley, one of those.
Again, what does it cost to add that player? Not just financially, but does it cost you a player in order to do something like that? And again, I'm not into shaking up for the sake of shaking up. I mean, you got to have a plan here. And clearly the plan from the Mavericks standpoint, they certainly have talked about it often enough that we should believe it, is that they need a secondary ball handler. They need somebody to take it out of Luka's hands so he doesn't have a 38 to 40% usage rate. I mean, I don't think they want him to be James Harden. As good as James Harden is, and as good as Luka is, asking him to initiate the offense every time he comes down the floor in an NBA game, in an 82-game season, and then, when you get to the playoffs, when they're really focusing in on you, that's a tremendous ask. So, guys like the guys you mentioned, especially Conley and DeRozan, they can take a lot of the pressure off of Luka in that regard. And, again, it doesn't mean just because they bring the ball off the floor that means that Luka's out of the possession, that he'll never touch the ball. And we did see this from time to time, that, you throw it to Luka on the block and let him run the offense through there, and just, give a defense something different to think about than simply, how are we going to defend the high screen and roll.
Do you think the expectation should be championship starting as early as next season? given what's transpired in the playoffs here, we've kind of seen, Phoenix and.
Well, again, why is Phoenix there? Phoenix made a major move.
Right.
The team as constructed right now is not a team that is good enough to get to the NBA Finals. I think the expectation, given that you have Luka, is that you ought to be winning at least the playoff series. I think that's, I think that's reasonable. Anything that happens after that, look, so many things happen in a playoff series. You can have everything go. Look at the Lakers. The Lakers still thought that they had a team, no matter their issues, at times shooting the ball. But if they had a healthy LeBron and a healthy Anthony Davis, I'm sure they're believing they're at least playing in the conference finals, if not playing in the NBA finals. But you know what? Both those guys got hurt, and they went away in 6 games and done. Season over. So, I am not from the rings culture. I've never been. And I realize that, fans love to define players, define teams simply by the rings culture. And you can't do it because it's gone in the blink of an eye. So to ask that the Mavericks be NBA champions in 2022 or demand that they be champions in 2022, it's asking way too much, and it's the wrong way, in my opinion, to approach things. What I think fans do have a right to expect at this point, especially with Luka now going to his 4th year, is that they do win a playoff series, because he is good enough, obviously, to win a playoff series, and it's up to the Mavericks as a coaching staff and as an organization to get the right pieces in and then have them be coached in such a way that they're able to achieve that.
And one guy that is completely, really found himself with Luka, with the Mavericks, is Tim Hardaway Jr. How important do you think it will be to bring him back? And are you concerned at all, I guess, that depending on how free agency goes, maybe they get priced out of him?
Well, they could get priced out. He's from Miami. Miami certainly has shown interest in him, and that's understandable. But again, and I have the most rudimentary understanding of the salary cap. But if Hardaway re-signs here, it means the likelihood of those players we were talking about earlier coming here, that probably goes away. So, again, if you're Nico and Michael Finley and Jason and obviously Mark Cuban too, you have to prioritize, what do you really want to achieve and what do you think you can achieve? And that we don't know the answer to that. We'll know the answer to that starting in about 3 weeks.
Your career, how did you ever think that you would reach the point of, being a play-by-play guy for an NBA team, being on the radio for this long? Are you ever able to reflect on your journey with the Mavericks?
I always hoped I'd be doing games. That was the most important thing to me. Whether I was doing it for a team or if I was doing national games, whether I was doing radio or television. It turned out it's radio, and frankly, in many ways, I enjoy radio more than TV, just because I'm the boss at that point. It's my vision of what the game is, as opposed to really executing somebody else's vision of what the game is, and being a caption writer, for lack of a better phrase. But this is what I always wanted to do. So I have very few regrets. There are some college places that I've never broadcast from. I've never been to the big house, never done a game at Notre Dame. Would love to be able to do that. But, I've loved the NBA from the time I was a little kid. I didn't know that this would be the path that I would go down as a kid. I think as I got into the business a little bit more, I thought it was a far more realistic path to try to attain. And I've just been extraordinarily lucky. Look, my first year, the team went to the finals. Nobody, and then of course you're thinking, well, yeah, this is the way it's always supposed to be. Your team's going to go to the finals every year, and you find out it doesn't quite work like that. But you do realize that you're watching the greatest athletes in the world every night, certainly the best basketball in the world every night, and I was fortunate enough, obviously, to be able to chronicle Dirk's achievements and the really important moments of his career. And, there are guys who have gone through their entire broadcast career who've not had that opportunity to broadcast a player of his ilk. And so I had that. And now I have Doncic. And so, I couldn't be more fortunate. And so, there are no regrets. And there's not an amazement, but there is a real satisfaction of knowing that, from the time probably I was 15 years old to where I am today, that I've been able to achieve a lot of what I wanted to achieve.
And I one quick follow-up to that, because you mentioned the Dirk, and I just popped in my head, like, you've been around Dirk. You probably is there a favorite kind of memory or story or interaction that maybe the people haven't heard, or that you could share about just Dirk's legacy?
I've told this story a lot. People probably, maybe they've heard it, maybe they haven't. But I know I've told the story a lot. My first year with the team, the Mavericks are playing a game. We played a game in L.A. Against the Clippers. It's a horrible game. Mavericks win it, though. Dirk hits a shot with about a half second to go to win the game. And we're flying to San Francisco, and we're going to play the Warriors the next night. Well, when we fly, we get to the hotel, and we wait for the equipment truck to come, and the broadcasters and PR people and some of the other the video people, basically the iguanas in the back of the plane. They are the ones who help all the equipment manager and the trainers and whatever unload the truck. So the truck's there, and we're getting the bags out of there and loading, putting them off to the side. And I guess at one point I looked up, and there's Dirk, and he's slinging bags at 2:00 in the morning. He's just hit a game-winning shot. It's like, Dirk, man, go to your room, man. This is the NBA. The bags come to you. It's like, why are you doing this, man? It's crazy. And all I could think of is, Kobe'd be doing that. Yeah, LeBron would be doing that. But Dirk did that because Dirk was absolutely the most regular superstar that this world has ever seen. And it's just so extraordinarily special. And again, just fortunate enough to have been around him as much as I was around him.
That's an amazing story. All right, Coop, any last words to Mavericks fans? Any shout-outs? The floor is yours.
No shutouts, no shout-outs. No shutouts. We're not shutting anybody out. No reason to shout out. We're just excited and curious for what lies ahead. It's going to be a different world for all of us. Not just on Thursday when the news conference takes place, but everything going forward. How does the organization run? The basketball operations side. How does that run? Because we've all become accustomed to having it run a certain way. But I'm excited to see how it works out, and I'm excited to watch Luka in the Olympics, and I'm excited for the end of September when training camp gets here and we begin the process of a regular 82-game NBA season that starts on time in mid-October and that ends with the finals in the middle of June.
Appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Take care.